So yesterday, in case you missed it, was International Women's Day, where feminists marched around the world, except for in countries where oppression of women is actually a legitimate problem. But anyway, one of the bigger protests of the day was called A Day Without Women. That was the hashtag that was trending. The gist of it was that these feminist women weren't going to go to work that day so that you would understand how much they're needed and missed if they don't show up. Of course, as they woke up today, they probably realized that nothing really happened yesterday. We all made it through the day just fine without them. And that's because the adults in the room, the vast majority of people, including respectable women and ladies, went to work like everybody else has to. Whenever your family is relying on you, you don't tend to have many days that you can skip out to go scream at the clouds wearing your pussy hat. But a couple of larger gaming sites decided to take advantage of the day, got in on the action, and as many of you could probably guess without me even saying it, yes, it was Kotaku and Polygon, who both posted up on their websites yesterday morning that viewers would be seeing fewer articles due to A Day Without Women, because none of the women or persons identifying as women would be working at Polygon or Kotaku that day. They, of course, had to write an article to inform you of what was happening, because if they didn't, nobody would have noticed. Because I've got a feed for gaming news, and according to that, I just did a quick count, and if my numbers are correct, it appears there was actually more articles posted yesterday during the so-called strike whenever you compare it to the day before the strike. So they actually got more work done, which seems a little bit embarrassing. But I'm sure they're not embarrassed because they're happy with their virtue signaling. But you know, it must be really nice to be so privileged that you get the day off of work because you got a tunnel between your legs, because of your sex, and nothing more. I mean, most people, if they tell their employers that they're not coming to work that day as a protest, they'll usually find that they won't have a work to return to after their protest. So again, pretty damn privileged, and honestly, let's say it, it's also sexist. If there were any men who actually had a pair at Kotaku or Polygon, they should demand a day off, especially if it was a day off with pay, because if that happened, that's definitely an easy court case right there. But my question is, why did Polygon and Kotaku feel that the best way to celebrate their women, the women who work for them, was to ask them not to come to work? Like, does that make any sense? Hey, we love you. We admire you and your contributions. You contribute so much. Could you just take the day off, so we can appreciate you more? Like, seriously, what the fuck? Wouldn't you have made a bigger impact by allowing only the women to write articles for you that day? Put them front and center. Put them in front so you get exposure, get to show off their talents. Instead, you sent them home. How progressive of you. The strike at Kotaku and Polygon seems a little bit more like women's privileged vacation day to me. But that wasn't the only news from the gaming industry concerning the day's activities. You may have also heard of the show KindaFunny, with former IGN PlayStation writer Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know the last name that well because I usually don't watch these guys. But Colin tweeted yesterday, peace and quiet. Hashtag A Day Without a Woman. Obviously, a joke. It's actually pretty funny, I thought. I chuckled at it. Because this is one of the oldest dad jokes around. Like, this is literally something my dad would say in front of my mom to friends and family members. Like, they're always picking at one another, saying similar stuff. And so everybody will chuckle, and then she'll turn around and burn him later on. It's all out of love. I mean, this may seem explosive to people who have been sheltered all their lives, but for normal people, I mean, this is extremely tame. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And you would think for a group whose show is called KindaFunny, everybody on the team would have a sense of humor. But you'd be kind of wrong, because Greg Miller, who I won't call names just because he's a cuck, decided that not only was the tweet offensive, but he decided to write an essay apologizing for Colin's tweet and throwing a bus on top of him. Here's what he wrote in response to what was clearly a joke, one that's been told a million times. With so many of you asking me about Colin's tweet, I wanted to talk to him in person before I said anything here. If you know me, you know I hate feeding into internet drama, but with this involving a friend, partner, business, it's a bit different. I fall into the camp that believes the tweet was in poor taste. Colin and I have spoken about that at length. I'm personally sorry to the best friends who felt slighted on a day meant to celebrate. Was Colin's tweet a joke? Sure, but that doesn't make it okay. Context is important. Yeah, like the context that it's a joke, that 99% of the people realize that. On podcasts, I've joked about hypothetical abortions, Kevin's German grandpa, and so on. They're said with a laugh, and Nick being Nick, everybody's in on it. On Twitter, as I've learned so many times, there's no tone or contextual clues. Like, if you needed tone to realize that that was a joke, there's probably more issues going on with you. Anyway, the number of times I've said something only to see it interpreted a different way is innumerable. That happened here. I wish it hadn't. We're talking about it as a group. In difference to the rest of the company's founders, and frankly against my own wishes, Colin isn't going to PAX East anymore. He wants our fans to enjoy our panel without any distractions. While I don't agree with his choice, I respect it. Colin's a well-spoken dude with great ideas, but he's also consistently said and done controversial things for a decade that I've known him. We don't always agree or often agree with him, but that's who he is, and he understands more than anybody that his words can and do have consequences. I hope he'll think more about them in the future. When we broke away to do KindaFunny, we wanted to build a community that celebrates the good and strives to be better than the internet commentator. We didn't accomplish that today. We'll do better tomorrow. Stay strong. I sit down to pee. Greg Miller. Unbelievable. I mean, if that's how you treat your best friends, because I've seen some posts where people were bringing it up, where he talked about Colin being like one of the best people in his life at a time that he really needed somebody there whenever he was going through cancer treatment. If that's how you treat your best friends, I'd hate to know what size buses you throw on top of your enemies. The overreaction clan and fake outrage and identity politics is so over the top that it's actually pretty hilarious to watch. I mean, the only thing funnier than Colin's tweet was the social justice wussies crying about it. Now, the only thing that I hope happens is that Colin stands his ground and refuses to bow down to kiss the social justice warrior rings and give them an apology, because that's how they get power. By being able to take people out, by being able to force people to apologize for things that they shouldn't be apologizing for, because absolutely no apology is needed for this. The people offended by it, which by the way, NeoGaf is livid. Those people are the problem. And they can go get a coloring book if they need something to make themselves feel better. Fuck them. It doesn't appear, however, that Colin is backing down. He hasn't deleted the tweet, which is a plus, and he's also tweeted a picture from the Revolutionary War, which is probably also a good sign. So stand strong, Colin. More people have your back than who will throw you under the bus. Post your thoughts below. Are women in America oppressed? I want to know how. That does it for me, the Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.